What's up, guys? How's it going? This is going to be a new series where we're going to cover sort of the beginner esque way of getting into ailments for Godfall. I hope you guys are having fun with the game as much as I am. I can't wait for the game to expand and grow. But until then, let's look at some things that can help you get started with learning the ailments and getting ready to make builds in the later game. So to start off, if you're new to this game, or if you're new to this video, or if you haven't played it yet, or you're thinking about playing it, ailments are like elements. So you have different elements and different statuses that go with them. So in this game, physical damage, which is just like raw blunt damage normally in other games, still has its own debuff or DOT, or even a status effect, we'll say. So with physical damage, if you hit the enemy enough, you'll build up a bleed bar, which you can't see in the game, but you can tell by mechanics, which will make them bleed over time, which is a dot. So they will take damage over time as long as it stays on there. So fire damage has what it's called ignite. So you ignite the enemy on fire. Earth damage can lead to poison. Water can lead to chill, which is same thing as ice. Air damage can lead to shock, which is lightning. And void or darkness can lead to curse. So at the moment of this game, the way it is now, each damage type has its own DOT. We don't know how it'll be later, but for now at launch, this is what we have. This is what we're going to get into. For each individual ailment, there is a valor plate that's connected to it. All right, so first we're going to cover Phoenix. She is one of the first valor plates that you unlock in the game right after you finish the tutorial. And Phoenix, well, she's a fire damage valor plate. For her, what you're looking to do is pretty much set enemies on fire and deal damage to them according to how much fire damage you have. So as we spoke about before with Ignite, how you can ignite enemies on fire, that's kind of her thing. So at base, she gives you a 10% ignite. This helps you light enemies on fire as you're hitting them with fire weapons. Now, getting into weapons, there are a lot of weapons that she has. Right now at the beginning of the game, weapons are very limited, unfortunately, but there are still a large variety for you to choose from. So depending on if you got the pre-order DLC, you will have the Gildan weapons. Some of the Gildan weapons have fire. For this one, we're going to look at Retribution, which is a legendary greatsword. And what this weapon does is whenever you kill an enemy with the Soul Shatter, which we'll cover later, you will summon a fire elemental ghost. It doesn't say ghost, but it says fire elemental. And the fire elemental will seek out a nearby enemy and explode, dealing 33% of the Soul Shatter damage as fire damage, which is really cool. With this weapon, you can upgrade it, and as you upgrade it, you get a chance to improve on the inflict to ignite percentage. So for mine, I leveled it up and got 11% on ignite, and then I got 5% to inflict ailments. So ailments is kind of like the overall, I'd say the overall, just all of them together. So you're just inflicting an ailment no matter what it is. So you can put that on all your builds or all your weapons and stuff like that. It's a way that you can just get ailment damage out. Now, if you don't have this weapon and you didn't get the pre-order, sorry, there are other weapons that you can choose from, which you get throughout the game. Luckily, the way this game is set up, it has a very good system for dropping weapons. So right now we're looking at the Nightblade. The Nightblade is a uncommon weapon, which it's going to drop a lot as you're playing through the game. And the Nightblade gives you a varying of percentages, but it always has fire damage and it always has inflict ignite. So as we're going to scroll over to our uncommon section, we're going to look at the other night blades really quick just to see what else you're going to get. So the first time I got mine, ooh, it was really low. So level 7 was the first time I got the weapon, which is pretty good. So to get it as a level 7 drop, maybe I might have gotten it lower. No, level 7. Level 7 really helped because, as you see, 8% already is something. Like, you're already getting the 18% overall just by equipping it, because Phoenix has 10% at base. So the weapon gives you a bonus 8%. Plus it's doing 36 fire damage. That's awesome. So what else do we have? There's got to be more weapons than just this one, right? So as we're going to go through, you're going to notice that every weapon kind of has its own set. So when you're going by rarity, there's always, in the uncommon sections, there's always going to be a weapon for each element and for each type. So you're going to have weak point damage, you're going to have takedown damage, there's going to be bleed, there's going to be water damage, there's going to be chill. You're going to have one of each. That's kind of the good thing about this game, is that weapons can be upgraded. So even though you're playing through the game, don't get rid of your lower end weapons, because you can also salvage them for crafting materials to upgrade later on. But you get the same weapons over and over to help you with your builds. So there was a weapon that I saw. All right. So Mercy. So Mercy are rare dual blades. They have fire damage, but they really don't help out with Phoenix overall. They don't help out with the fire build. They just do fire damage. So let's keep going and see what else we have for fire. Luckily, I have a lot that I've unlocked so far. I haven't fully beat the game, but I've gotten enough to where you can see what you're going to get. So at level 3, we have Solace. And I have a couple. So 14, 18, and 10. But what Solace does, it's another great sword. Apparently, a lot of great swords have fire damage. Solace has 32 fire damage at level 3. And you gain blessing of power, whenever you defeat an ignited enemy. So whenever an enemy is on fire, you get the blessing of power. The blessing of power just grants you more attack power. So you're just getting an attack boost every time you kill an enemy that is set on fire. So each one will have a different secondary attribute. So the secondary attributes are random rolls, but the primary will always be the same for that weapon type. So when you're looking up Solace, you're always going to be, or Solace, you're going to always get fire damage, blessing of power when you kill an enemy that's on fire. All right. So what else do we have? That weapon helps. Solace helps. But for rare, I don't really see any other weapons that can help us. So let's see about epic. What epic weapons do we have that can help us on our journey? So far, not too many. Oh, there we go. So you have Oblivion, which dropped at level 15. Oblivion does 66 fire damage, but it doesn't really have anything else for our build. It's mostly for breach damage while using Rampage, which is something we'll get into later. And what do we have? We have Summertide, which is another great sword. See that great sword theme I was talking about earlier? So we have another great sword that deals 46 fire damage. We got it at level 8. And let's see, whenever you defeat an ignited enemy, the enemy will explode and deal 135 fire damage to nearby enemies. So that fits with our theme. Whenever you defeat an enemy that's on fire, they're going to explode and deal fire damage to everyone in their area. Now, in this game, a lot of times enemies will group up together because you can kind of kite them around and get them into one giant circle. They like to rush you a lot in higher difficulties, so that kind of makes them bottleneck right towards you. And with this ability, when you kill them and they just explode and do that damage to everybody else as an AoE, that's going to help out a lot. So that's another weapon that you have at your disposal. So that's what I'm saying. Like, even if you didn't get the pre-order bonuses, because there are a couple more weapons that deal fire damage, but even if you didn't get the pre-order bonus, you can still have options for your build. Now, that's it for weapons. We're going to get into rings next because rings can help you out on your journey as well. Now, rings can help you with your elements, and there is a ring, or at least 2 rings, for every element and damage type. You just have to find them. First, you have your uncommons, which is like I was saying before with the weapons. You always have an uncommon item that's going to help you with your element. For Phoenix, you're going to want the Ring of Embers, which is pretty self-explanatory. So as you're leveling up, you're going to find them at different levels throughout the game. And the lowest one I have is at level 7, if it's not the one that I'm wearing now. No, 10. So level 7 was when I got my first one. So as you can see, it gives you 36 might, which is your damage. And then its primary ability gives you 7% chance to inflict ignite. So you can set enemies on fire. That's a good one to have right at the start because that's going towards your fire build. Phoenix wants to set people on fire. That's what you want to do. So what else do we have? The rings are kind of color coded so you can kind of see what you got going. This one here kind of helped, but this you can't really guarantee that you'll get this one every time. So with the Vermilion Band, as you see, the primary effect is restore 19 health whenever you defeat an enemy with a takedown. Takedown is like a finisher, kind of like God of War style or like Assassin's Creed style when you know their health is low and you just kill them off. But its secondary ability gives you 23% damage to enemies that are on fire. So as you can see, that was the only one I got really that was like that. There was 2, but that's not a prime. It's not something that you're going to get all the time. So since it's not something you're going to get all the time, you can't really rely on it. But I did get it at level 1. So that's something else that can help you if you're setting enemies on fire really fast. The other ring that you can look into is a ring that drops and is kind of good, but it kind of depends on your build. So you have the Incarnate Soul Ring. The Incarnate Soul Ring gives you 52 vitality. Vitality is added to your health pool. So the primary skill is 29% chance to ignite enemies when you use your Southern Technique. Your Southern Technique is your weapon ability, which we'll go into later. But as a primary, that's good because you're getting a really high number. So when you're looking at ignite, you've got the 7 to 8% on your ring. You know, Phoenix gives you 10% just for using her. Then we've got a weapon that gives us, 6 to 8%. And then you've got a ring that gives you 29%. And of course, as you level up, because I have more than one, I got another one at level 14. That's 30% when you use your weapon skill, which is your technique, the Southern Technique. And then the one that I have now gives 37% at level 23. So just from using that technique, you're pretty much guaranteed to set enemies on fire, which is what you want. So that's going to help you with your build, looking for stuff like that that's going to help. So moving forward, we're going to go into Lifestones and Banners. So Lifestones and Banners can help you out with your ailment builds. Lifestones, they have 2 that can help you out specifically. The first one would be the one that's tailored to your element. So we're going to look at the one that I have equipped, where it gives you 159 health recovery at level 17. But the primary skill, so every time you activate your Lifestone, which is the item that gives you back health, you're going to get for 10 seconds 50% fire damage. And on this one, I was lucky enough to get a secondary effect where for that additional 10 seconds, that not additional, but during that 10 seconds when you use it, you're going to get an extra 5% to set enemies on fire. So let's see what's level. I got it at level 6. So the first one I got was at level 6. It was still 5 ignite as a secondary, which was good because I got more than one. But the other one, as you can see, I got at level 8, does not have the ignite secondary percentage. But at least it had 43% damage for fire. So I'm dealing additional fire damage, which is going to help me kill enemies and bosses really fast. Now, the other one you can look forward to is the overall ailment. So if you don't have the Restoration Sun Drop, you will get the Bead of Hardened Aetherium. Those ones you get more often. The first one I got was at level 7, which gives you 89% health recovery. And its primary effect for 10 seconds when you use it to recover health is plus 13% chance to inflict ailments. So you can kind of gauge which one you want over the other. If you want to just set enemies on fire, you have the Sun Drop, which you can get around level 6. I mean, if you're farming and you're playing a lot, you're going to get these drops guaranteed. But around level 6 is when I got mine, so I have to think about, do I want to ignite enemies on fire and do fire damage, or do I just want to set them on fire? Because if you look at the two from level 6 to level 7, which would be around the same time anyway, depending on RNG, you would have a 13% chance to set enemies on fire with the Bead of Hardened Aetherium, or with the Restoration Sun Drop, I would have the 5% to set them on fire, but I would have the 43% damage once they are on fire. So this is where you kind of got to play around with the numbers and look at what's going to give you the most of what you are at that level. Because as you level up, you're going to get better drops and stuff. The other thing is banners. So banners are kind of like an AoE buff that you can apply to you and allies around you. One of the ones that you are going to get no matter what is the Plague banner. So Plague Pennant is going to give you, when it's active and the AoE is set, it's going to give you 21% chance to inflict ailments. So that's an extra 21% while it's active to set enemies on fire, and then 39% to deal damage to people who are on fire. So that's going to give you a lot of damage for your fire, not only to set them on fire, but once they're on fire, you're going to melt them down as quickly as possible. You do get Plague over and over as you level up. It's a rare banner drop, so you're going to see it a lot. There's like 2 or 3 rare banners, and it's the Plague Pennant and then the Vampiric Pennant. And the Vampiric one restores your health as you hit enemies while it's active. But with those two, you're pretty much guaranteed to, like I said, use them no matter what build you're using. The good thing about this game is that you can save builds to individual Valor plates. So each character will have its own loadout. So even though you switch between the two, you'll always have this loadout that you can upgrade or just, activate them, and you don't have to worry about it as long as the items are still in your inventory, which, as you can see, when the items are in your inventory and you already have it saved, it puts a lock on it. So you know that it's saved to another loadout. So you can't get rid of it to prevent you from damaging that loadout. So what else can help Phoenix with her damage abilities? So we already know that she has a 10% chance to ignite enemies on fire without doing anything, just for using her. When you use her Archon Fury, which is pretty much like a super buff, she does a shockwave that does 30 fire damage to anyone within the shockwave radius. At that exact same time, her ability to set enemies on fire jumps up to 90%, and her damage to enemies on fire will do 100%. So that's what's pretty cool about her. Your weapons are going to deal fire damage once that's active. So even if you're not using a fire weapon, when you activate your Archon Fury or your super, your weapons are going to deal fire damage regardless. So something else that can help you is going to be your skills. Within your skills, you're going to have the ailments tree, and the ailments tree is also going to give you an additional 10%, but it's also a little bit more than 10%, because if you look at the other ailments, you get a total of 13% to all ailments. So when you level up this to level 5, all your ailments across the board are going to get plus 13, but that's going to help you out for what you want to play, because if you're playing Phoenix, that's going to give you an additional 13% to set enemies on fire. And as you can see right now, I have 46% of a chance to set enemies on fire just from just attacking without activating my Lifestone and without activating the banner or without activating the Archon Fury super. So just off that alone, I'm already at 46%. Activating those will set me over 50%, which is pretty much guaranteed everybody's going to be set on fire at that point. So for that, that's about it. Next, we're going to look at some of the things that you can do to kind of see what happens in combat, and then we're going to talk about what happens in combat with certain effects. All right, so what we're going to look at now is what you can do in combat to help you out. So first off, we're going to cover that southern technique that we were talking about earlier, where some weapons you need to use the southern technique to either light them on fire, or if you beat them with it, which is also a skill, if you kill an enemy with southern technique, it'll activate an element. So southern technique, I'm using an Xbox controller. Well, actually, I'm using a PS5 controller on PC, but it reads it as an Xbox controller. So you can follow along either way. You know what the controls are in game. It'll be on your screen. With the weapon techniques in the far top left corner, you will see that it has southern and northern technique. So northern technique will be left trigger or L2 and right bumper, or I think left click on keyboard and mouse. Don't ask me. And then southern technique will be left trigger or L2 and R2. So pretty much light and heavy attack are what you're doing. So for this weapon, it said when you beat an enemy with Soul Shatter, and then we had the Soul Ring, which gives a 37% chance to ignite enemies with southern technique. So we're going to do southern technique first. So southern technique was what again? I forgot that fast. Sorry. It's heavy. So you're going to charge up and do a heavy attack when you have a full bar, because I forgot. Which for great sword, they're going to throw it. So they're going to throw the weapon, and we're going to see if it ignites them. Yep, so they ignited on the first hit. Because when you look at it, we already have 46%. So by throwing the weapon, you're going up to, what is it, plus 70% just off the first hit. On fire, and you can see the icon under their name on the right side. They're on fire, they're taking burn damage, and we can just leave them to die to burn damage. All right, so next we have Soul Shatter. So Soul Shatter is when you hit the enemy's health bar and their bar is going to fill up white, and when you kill them, the sword itself, this great sword Retribution, is going to spawn a flame elemental. So we're going to have to kill out this guy. But all right, so we're going to hit him a couple times. As you can see, there's a white bar where his health is. And then when we hit him with a heavy attack, a fire elemental appears. And that fire elemental will explode, dealing fire damage. So as you can see, we didn't even do anything and he's already on fire, just from the fire elemental exploding. So that's that. And let's see, what else do we want to look at? We can show off the banner too while we're here. So on controller, I don't know what it is on keyboard and mouse, but on controller, you press up on the D-pad and it's going to give you a very good size AoE. So as you can see from the center of the room all the way back here, that red line is where your banner is going to be effective. So you have a very large range of effect. So 1, 2, 3, he's on fire. So about 3 hits with the banner and he's on fire. and he's dead. So you have a lot of options to set enemies on fire. Even if it's the other weapon, we're going to use just the base weapon to set enemies on fire while the banner is still active, if it's still active. No, it's not active anymore. Okay. So you see on the fourth hit, I set him on fire right before he died. Which, if you're using a great sword and you're hitting a bunch of enemies, you're going to hit more than one enemy, which is good. So it's not going to be guaranteed, but at least you have a higher percent chance. Dropping to a different weapon does lower our numbers a little bit because it's 8% versus the retribution, which I upgraded to 16%. So stand a better chance with the more ignite that you have. But bam, 2 hits, was able to set him on fire with the weapon that has 8% ignite. So that's how you're going to do it. That's just covering it a little bit while we're here. But that's pretty much it for this video. The only other thing that you really have to think about is really just where you want things to be, like how you want to stay alive and stuff like that. Unfortunately, this is early in the game, so we don't really have a lot that we can go with. Try to keep in mind to find items that also support what you want to do. So like the peace charm that I have, I was lucky enough to get a drop that had plus 5% ignite. So that also helps. And plus it gives me health when my health is below 25%. So it increases my health recovery. That's something that's going to keep me alive. Phoenix is kind of squishy, and it's just the truth. So I had to help her with her health recovery because she doesn't have really great defense. You know, she's a Phoenix. You kind of just go hard or go home. So augments can also help with that. There are some augments. I don't have any, but I've seen some where it gave chance to ignite or it gave fire damage. But yeah, just keep in mind that, you know, with a Valor plate like Phoenix, you're looking to do fire damage. You're looking to set enemies on fire to deal maximum damage. And that's kind of her whole gimmick, is set enemies on fire, kill them with fire damage, move on to the next target. All right. So that's it for this starter video. I hope this helped you guys out and helped you guys to understand Phoenix and just a little beginner way of how she works. That way you can start to see moving forward when you hit level 50 and you're getting those max drops, you know, and all the really good stuff, that you kind of have an idea in your head of what you can do to optimize her build. This isn't incorporating things like crit damage or anything. This is just focused on what she does while you're moving forward through the game, setting enemies and bosses on fire, dealing additional damage, and really just melting their health bars as you move forward. Of course, also using your Archon Fury will help, and because that'll also set enemies on fire, as we'll show really quick. There was a shockwave, and as you saw the shockwave, bam, he was on fire. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you have tons of options. She's a really good Valor plate. You know, you get her right at the start, as I was saying before. But also she's really fun. I love her. I just wish that she could do more, but that's a discussion for a later date. Hopefully as the game increases or more updates come out, she'll be able to spread out fire and kind of set more enemies on fire. Hopefully she'll be able to like absorb fire or something to heal herself. Like, that would be really cool. Who knows what they'll do for this game later on, but for right now, this game is awesome. So that's it for my beginner guide and kind of overview of Phoenix. I hope it helped you out. I hope it gave you some information and some ideas. And if you're not playing the game, I hope this gave you some incentive to want to play the game. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out and have fun.